Hey BookTube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to do the first Friday of the vlogmas installments of Fandom Fridays. These are a little bit of like a mini series that I'm planning on running over the course of this vlogmas, where every Friday we will talk about one of my fandom favorites, like one of the fandoms that I love being in. We're going to start today with the oldie but a goldie, the oldest fandoms that I belong in. I labeled this in my notebook teen dramedies. Basically, today we're going to be talking about Boy Meets World and Dawson's Creek. Those of you who follow me on Twitter will know that I am shamelessly addicted to Joshua Jackson as Pacey Witter and Ryder Strong as Sean Hunter. I consider both of those two characters to be like foundational characters for me in terms of the tropes and character aspects and things that I look for in really, really deeply like satisfying narratives. So I think one of the things that sticks out to me the most about these two particular fandoms is just how classically foundational they feel to so many people who operate in like fan fiction and romance specific like circles. There is rarely a conversation that I have where Pacey Witter or Sean Hunter comes up that somebody is not also chiming in about bells being rung and wheelhouses being lived in. So I just think that there is something about the time period of the people creating the romances that I'm most interested in right now and the young adult stuff I'm most interested in right now, having grown up with that kind of like TGIF Friday night, Saturday night teen drama. I know this also applies a lot to Buffy. I was not as big a Buffy fan. Buffy, like I didn't start getting into SFF genre stuff in terms of like television until I was a little bit older, so I kind of missed the Buffy stuff. But a lot of these same kind of general things apply. This is, I am convinced, where my love of brooding heroes comes from, my love of the dynamics between familial and personal expectations and pressures, the hurt, comfort, and the emotional angst and the emotional fortification tropes that I love so much, all of seem to kind of take their root in and their foundation in my love for Sean Hunter and Pacey Witter. Luckily, now you can watch both of these shows again. I will also link to an episode from the Thirst Aid Kit that they recently did on Joshua Jackson, where they spent quite a bit of time talking about his role as Pacey Witter. But you can watch Dawson's Creek on, I believe, either Netflix or Hulu in the United States. And of course, Boy Meets World is available on Disney+. I just finished rewatching my way through the later seasons of Boy Meets World for very obvious reasons. I also read a Variety article about Ryder Strong that I will see if I can find and link to down below, that was an interview piece and kind of an in-depth follow-up with him, where basically it said that in order to keep Ryder Strong interested in playing the role of Sean Hunter, they had to write like meatier and meatier stuff for him to do, which is even like becomes glaringly evident when I'm rewatching, and you can tell that like everyone else has this kind of like really lighthearted sitcom-y comic plotline going on, and then Sean Hunter over here is dealing with like cults and his family separation and true love and dealing with his brother like reunification, and so many different things going on. And of course, Pacey Witter is the like angsty hero, hurt, comfort figure. He is so kind and so giving and so acknowledging of other people's validity and truth, but while also being so in complete loathing with himself and in such like an emotionally abusive relationship with his parents. And there's so much going on there that even going back and watching as an adult, I have like the one side of me that loves it for like nostalgia reasons, and this other side of me that loves it for the potential and the exploration of character and character arc that Pacey Witter provides, and that Joshua Jackson is really able to like sink his teeth into. Like, for being a teen drama on the CW/WB or whatever, Joshua Jackson comes to play, and he's not fucking around, and I love it. So that is kind of a little explanation, deep dive, primer, just kind of ramble about my first formative fandoms, which were those 90s teen dramas/dramedies. I will close this out by giving you guys 5 fic recs, which will be linked down below. The first one is called If You Love Me by Waldorf. This is Sean is rock climbing as an adult and gets hit on the head and gets amnesia kind of fic. And then Corey and Topanga take care of him and kind of shelter him and reintroduce him to his life and help him find his way again, much as they did when they were teens. The vast majority of these take place when the trio of people are adults, while also ignoring the Girl Meets World canon, because they're obviously, like, Shawn Hunter came back in that, and we learn more about Corey and Topanga and their family, but a lot of these kind of ignore that dynamic, or it's a very loose affiliation. But also for a lot of these, they are adults. They have grown up. I'm really sorry if you can hear that droning. They're doing construction next door, and they just won't. Next up is It's Been Waiting for You by Graham Lupine. This is an OT3 fic that takes place at Christmas between Shawn, Corey, and Topanga. I love them as a trio. I love that there is pegging in this fic. I love that there is pining in this fic. I love that so much of the relationship between these three is found in the canon of the show in terms of the lack of jealousy, or the way that jealousies are dealt with between the three of them over the course of the show and over the course of this fic is really beautifully handled. Next, we have kind of an interesting choice. This is Tell Your Story Now by Sinead. This is a Jen fic that is about Eric Matthews coming out. Eric Matthews is a really interesting character because I feel like Will Friedle, when given the chance to do drama, really does a fantastic job. And he does a really interesting thing with Eric when it comes to some of the few episodes where he's really allowed to, like, expand on that character while also being, like, incredibly funny and responsible for probably, I'm gonna say, like, 85% of the memorable one-liners from Boy Meets World. So it's a really interesting to see his kind of persona get explored in fandom, or in fic, especially because this fandom, it's not very big. Next up, I have 2 Dawson's Creek fics. Again, these fandoms are really small because they are older. They're very heteronormative. They're very canonized and concrete in the way that things wrap up and are concluded for everybody. But the first one I have is Static Around a Lost Sound in a Song. This is an AU that takes place post-show when they're adults after Pacey has exited rehab. So I do want to give, like, content warnings that some of the stuff in this fic is a little bit darker, but it all feels very in keeping with the kind of teenage trauma and, like, PTSD that Pacey Witter would most likely be suffering. Then the very last fic that I want to give is almost the, like, polar opposite of that. It's called Blue by Romantical Girl. This is a pre-canon, like, young teen Pacey pining for Joey fic. I do think it's really interesting that these are, that, like, Dawson's Creek is maybe one of my few foundational headship canons. I find that interesting for a lot of reasons as a queer woman. But yeah, I love this really sweet and romantic and just, like, inner monologue of pining for Joey before all of the events kick off in Dawson's Creek, because Dawson's Creek is full of drama, full of back and forth, full of will they, won't they, but really digging into the root of a character's romantic arc when that doesn't get explored until later seasons is really, really awesome. So yeah, those are my recommendations for fic for these 2 fandoms, for this fandom in general. Thank you guys for watching my first installment of Fandom Fridays. I am debating continuing this on into the new year, so let me know down below what your thoughts are. If you have thoughts on Boy Meets World or Dawson's Creek or fandom in general, any of the things we kind of chatted about today, let me know down below. Of course, you can also leave an emoji, hit subscribe, hit like, do all those YouTube things. I don't usually mention it because I figure you guys know how YouTube works, but hey, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. And until next time, friends, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have happy reading.